she was fading. The jungle sounds were quiet that day, as if even the forest knew something sacred was slipping away. This gorilla, known to her caretakers as Ndakasi, had lived a life touched by both tragedy and tenderness. And now, after years of defying the odds, she was nearing her final breath. Most people would have stepped back, given her space, let nature run its course. But one woman stepped closer. She leaned in, pressed her cheek against Ndakasi's, and began to sing. The melody was soft, a lullaby. Nothing extraordinary, except that something did happen. Within moments, the world would see this moment. Scientists would argue about what it meant, and millions of people would cry over a connection they couldn't explain, because what happened next, no one could have predicted. This is the story of a farewell, a song, and a moment that challenged what we thought we knew about love, death, and what it means to be alive. Ndakasi was no ordinary gorilla. She wasn't just another animal in a zoo or sanctuary. She had a story, a history that made her unforgettable. Rescued as an infant from the jungles of Congo, Ndakasi's life began in tragedy. Her family had been slaughtered by poachers, and she was left alone, fragile and helpless. It was the Senkwekwe Center, a sanctuary dedicated to orphaned mountain gorillas, that would become her new home. Here, she was not just a survivor, she became a symbol of resilience. As a young gorilla, she was small and vulnerable, but the caretakers at Senkwekwe quickly realized something special about her. Ndakasi had a fierce spirit, an unbreakable will to live. She had been taken from the only family she'd ever known, yet she learned to trust the humans who cared for her. Over time, she became part of their family too. Her caretakers would often share stories of her playful nature, her mischievous ways, and her bond with the other gorillas. She would climb the trees, run across the fields, and act just like a normal gorilla. But there was something else about her that set her apart. A quiet, gentle soul that seemed to understand more than we could ever comprehend. And then, there was that one moment, the moment that captured the hearts of millions. In 2019, Ndakasi made headlines around the world with her now famous selfie. It was a photo taken by a ranger while Ndakasi stood beside him, looking straight at the camera with a curious expression. The image went viral in minutes, capturing not just the gorilla's gaze, but the profound connection between humans and animals. It was a reminder that even in the wild, bonds are formed that go beyond simple survival. But behind the camera lens, Ndakasi's journey was far from over. What would come next in her life would change the way we looked at the bond between humans and animals forever. Among the many caretakers at the Senkwekwe Center, there was one woman who had a particularly deep bond with Ndakasi. Her name was Angelique. For years, Angelique cared for Ndakasi, and their relationship grew beyond that of a caretaker and an animal. It was a connection that went beyond species, a bond built on trust, compassion, and understanding. Angelique was there when Ndakasi took her first steps in the sanctuary, when she made her first playful jump, and when she faced moments of fear and uncertainty. As a young gorilla, Ndakasi often needed comfort, and Angelique was the one to provide it. She was there to feed her, to speak to her softly, and to reassure her that she was safe. There was something deeply special about the way Angelique interacted with Ndakasi. It wasn't just the daily routines or the physical care she gave, but the emotional connection they shared. It wasn't uncommon to see them together, Angelique holding Ndakasi's hand, or sitting quietly, letting the gorilla lean against her. Angelique was the kind of person who saw beyond the physical differences. She understood that Ndakasi wasn't just an animal to be cared for. She was a creature with feelings, with needs, with a heart that could be reached. As Ndakasi grew older, their bond only deepened. It was clear that Angelique wasn't just a caregiver to her. She was family. And Ndakasi seemed to understand that. She would approach Angelique with a gentleness that spoke volumes. In a way, Angelique had become her protector, her confidant. the one who had shown her a world of love and safety, far from the violence she had experienced as a baby. This relationship between them, a beautiful friendship that transcended the typical lines of human-animal interaction, was something that would become even more significant in the days to come. What started as a rescue mission turned into a profound, almost sacred bond, and it would be tested in ways no one could have predicted. As the years went by, Ndakasi's health began to decline. Her once vibrant energy started to fade, and her caretakers noticed subtle changes in her behavior. She grew slower, more lethargic, and at times appeared distant. It was a heartbreaking sight for those who had cared for her so deeply. Angelique especially was troubled. She had spent so many years with Ndakasi, watching her grow from a fragile infant into a strong-spirited gorilla. Now, seeing her struggle was a painful reminder that time, no matter how much love was involved, could not be stopped. The sanctuary's veterinarians tried everything they could to help. They ran tests, administered treatments, and did all they could to diagnose the illness that seemed to be taking over Ndakasi's body. But despite their efforts, the prognosis grew grimmer with each passing day. There was no clear explanation for her sudden decline, but what was certain was that she wasn't the same as she once was. Angelique stayed by her side, offering comfort, warmth, and the same tenderness she had given her throughout the years. It was as though, even in her weakened state, Ndakasi could feel the love and care surrounding her. Yet, with each day, the caretakers knew that time was running out. The staff at the center tried to prepare themselves for the inevitable, but nothing could truly prepare them for what would come next. It was clear that Ndakasi was nearing the end of her journey. She had already defied so many odds in her life, surviving poaching, living through the trauma of losing her family, and finding a new family among humans. But now, it seemed that her fight was winding down. The sanctuary became quieter, the air heavier with the weight of unspoken goodbyes. And for Angelique, the person who had always been there for Ndakasi, the loss felt all too real. There was no escaping the fact that she would soon have to say goodbye to the gorilla she had loved like a sister. As Ndakasi lay there, her breaths shallow and slow, Angelique knew that this might be the last time she could be with her in such a close and personal way. There was a heavy silence that hung in the air, a silence that only those who have been in the presence of a dying loved one can truly understand. It was in that silence that Angelique made a decision. She wasn't going to let her go quietly. Without thinking twice, she leaned in closer to Ndakasi. Gently, she placed her hand on the gorilla's head, her fingers running through the thick, soft fur. Angelique's heart ached, but she knew that what Ndakasi needed now was not medical attention. It was comfort. It was peace. It was love. And so, without hesitation, Angelique began to sing. It wasn't anything grand or performed. The song was simple, just a soft, soothing lullaby that Angelique had once sung to Ndakasi during the years they spent together. The melody was familiar, calming, comforting, just like the moments they had shared when Ndakasi was younger and scared. The song spoke of peace, of safety, of love. It was a lullaby meant to offer solace in the final moments of life. And as Angelique sang, something happened. Ndakasi, who had been so still, who had seemed so far away, began to respond. Her breathing steadied, her eyelids fluttered. For a moment her eyes opened fully, locking onto Angelique's face. There was no pain, no distress, just a peaceful presence, as though she recognized the song and the love behind it. It wasn't just a human singing to an animal. It was two souls, connected in a moment of profound serenity. The song went on for a while. It wasn't rushed. There was no need for urgency. In that moment, time itself seemed to slow down. The lullaby echoed in the air, a gentle melody that seemed to bridge the gap between life and death. Angelique continued to sing, not for any grand reason or expectation, but simply because she wanted to be there for Ndakasi, to offer her comfort in her final moments. And then, just as quietly as it had begun, the song came to an end. The air felt different, softer, almost still. Angelique knew that she had done all she could, and what happened next would go on to shock not just her, but the entire world. As the final note of the lullaby lingered in the air, something extraordinary happened. Ndakasi, who had been so still moments before, slowly lifted her head. Her eyes, once distant and heavy with the weight of illness, seemed to focus, as though seeing the world with new clarity. And then, in a gesture that stunned everyone around her, Ndakasi smiled. It was a slow, subtle smile, but it was unmistakable. Her lips curled gently, and her eyes softened, filled with a quiet contentment. The caretakers who had been watching from a distance were speechless. Angelique, still holding her close, couldn't believe what she was witnessing. It was as though, in that moment, Ndakasi had found peace. The smile wasn't just a response to the song, it was a recognition, an understanding that her journey was complete. The image of that smile, captured by a nearby camera, would go on to be shared across the globe. Within hours, the video of Ndakasi's final moments went viral. The world was captivated by the sheer beauty of what had just occurred. People across the world were left in awe, moved by the simple yet profound connection between a woman and a dying gorilla. The smile wasn't just a moment of happiness, it was a symbol of something deeper, something that transcended words or explanations. Scientists, ethologists, and animal behavior experts were quick to weigh in. Some believed that the smile was a sign of recognition, a way for Ndakasi to express her gratitude or to find peace before letting go. Others theorized that it was simply a reflex, an involuntary response to a sense of comfort. But no matter the explanation, the impact of the moment was undeniable. What shocked the world wasn't just the smile itself, but the way it challenged our understanding of animal emotions. Could a gorilla understand the concept of peace, of love, of finality in the way that we do? Was this a sign that animals too can experience moments of closure, of connection, in the face of death? As the video spread across social media, reactions poured in. People from all corners of the earth were touched, moved to tears, and inspired by the sight of a creature so often misunderstood, showing her vulnerability in a way that spoke to the depths of human emotion. In that moment, Ndakasi became more than just a gorilla. She became a symbol of connection, of love, and of the shared experiences that unite all living beings. But the smile was just the beginning. What happened next would leave the world even more stunned. The smile that Ndakasi gave before she passed wasn't just a fleeting moment. It was a window into something much deeper. Experts began to examine this event from every angle. For years, scientists had debated whether animals, especially those like gorillas, could truly understand the emotions of humans. Could they grasp the concept of love? Could they feel the finality of death as we do? And could they, in their own way, say goodbye? What happened between Angelique and Ndakasi that day challenged everything we thought we knew about animal cognition and emotion. Ethologists, who study animal behavior, pointed out that gorillas, like humans, live in close-knit family groups and experience complex emotional bonds. They are capable of empathy, grief, and even mourning. But this moment, the moment when Ndakasi smiled in response to Angelique's lullaby, seemed to suggest that gorillas, and possibly other animals, understand the deeper emotions we often attribute only to ourselves. In interviews, several scientists noted that while it's known that animals can respond to human emotions, what occurred with Ndakasi was something more profound. It wasn't just a learned behavior or a response to comfort. It felt like a conscious recognition of the connection she shared with Angelique, a recognition that went beyond the physical care she had received over the years. It was a moment of shared peace, something that spoke to the heart of what it means to be alive and to love. There were also those who cautioned against attributing too much human-like thinking to animals, warning that while this was a remarkable moment, it didn't necessarily mean that animals have the same emotional depth as humans. But even they couldn't deny that what had happened was deeply moving. The fact that this moment had resonated with so many people across the world spoke to a universal truth. The bond between humans and animals is stronger than we often realize. In the days and weeks that followed, conversations sparked around the world. People began to question how we interact with animals, how we perceive their emotions, and how we treat them in their final moments. The way that one woman sang to a dying gorilla and the response that followed became a catalyst for a larger conversation about the ethical treatment of animals, our understanding of animal intelligence, and the shared experiences that connect us all. Ndakasi's story brought awareness to the importance of wildlife conservation, the value of sanctuaries, and the need to protect animals who have suffered from poaching and habitat destruction. Her life and her passing highlighted the urgency of ensuring that animals like her have the chance to live in peace, free from the horrors of human exploitation. The smile, though small and fleeting, sparked a shift in how many people saw animals. It wasn't just about understanding that they have emotions. It was about acknowledging that they too deserve compassion and dignity in life and death. Ndakasi's final moments left a mark on the world, reminding us all that animals are more than just creatures of instinct. They are beings capable of deep emotional connections, and they are worthy of our respect. Ndakasi's story didn't end with her passing. It became a legacy, one that continues to inspire and remind us of the profound connections we share with animals. Her final moments, captured in that unforgettable smile, were a testament to the bond between humans and creatures who often go unnoticed, and they have left an indelible mark on the world. Since her passing, countless people have shared their feelings of gratitude and sorrow, expressing how much the story of Ndakasi touched them. It has sparked conversations about animal welfare, about the ethical treatment of wildlife, and the importance of conservation efforts. Ndakasi's life and the love she received have helped bring attention to the sanctuaries where gorillas like her can find safety and care. More people now understand the critical need to protect these magnificent creatures and their natural habitats. The Senkwekwe Center, where Ndakasi spent the final years of her life, has seen an outpouring of support. Donations have poured in from all over the world, helping to fund vital conservation efforts to ensure the survival of mountain gorillas, who are critically endangered. The work being done at the center to protect orphaned and displaced gorillas has become even more important in light of Ndakasi's story. And for Angelique, the woman who shared such a unique and powerful bond with Ndakasi, life has continued, but the memory of that moment remains. She's spoken publicly about how the experience of singing to Ndakasi has changed her, how it deepened her understanding of the power of love and the connection between all living beings. Angelique often shares that while Ndakasi is no longer physically with her, she feels her presence every day. The bond they shared, the gentle lullaby, is something Angelique will carry with her for the rest of her life. Ndakasi's legacy is also one of hope. Though she faced tremendous hardship, her story was one of survival, of finding peace in the most unlikely of circumstances. She was a reminder that no matter the struggles we face, love and compassion can transcend barriers, even between species. The way Ndakasi's story spread, touching hearts around the globe, reminds us all of the importance of kindness and empathy. She showed us that sometimes a simple act, a song, a smile, can change everything. It was a final gift, a moment of beauty and serenity that will resonate for generations to come. If Ndakasi's story has touched your heart, there are ways to help carry her legacy forward. Consider supporting wildlife sanctuaries, donating to gorilla conservation efforts, or simply spreading awareness about the plight of endangered species. Ndakasi's smile was a reminder that we're all connected, and it's up to each of us to protect that connection for future generations.